Hello and welcome. Today we have 3 freaky canine stories, proving that not all things furry are cute. Also, a quick note, the last story is about a dog involved in a creepy encounter with its owner. Without further hesitation, let's begin. Number 1. Each night when I go to bed, my puppy Zeus sleeps nearby in his little brown beanbag. He's a Dutch hound, small enough that his bottom can sit in the palm of your hand, and clever enough that he can open a box of treats on his own. Zeus was the name I chose. His black coat reminded me of storm clouds, a homage to the god of thunder. Last week, Zeus began acting, a little different. I made it my goal to figure out what exactly is going on. On Tuesday, waking up at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom, I noticed him staring at me. I mean full on facing me with his head perked and watching, his right paw over the other like a scientist observing a specimen. Ignoring it, I went to use the toilet, and upon my return, he was sleeping soundly like a regular dog. Then came Thursday night. Striking at me, snakes filled my vision. I fought each and every one with a blunt knife. Eventually, I got overwhelmed. Shooting up, I woke dripped in sweat in my own bed. Panting, my dimly lit room remained the same. Just a nightmare, I thought. I looked to my right, and Zeus was sitting in the bottom of my bed, perked up and still as stone. "Zeus, my boy, come here," I said in a high-pitched tone and tapping the bed next to me. He looked on, unmoved and unimpressed. Leaning against the headboard of my bed, we gazed at each other, his beady puppy eyes unnaturally black, an evil certainty shining through them. After what seemed like hours, he got up and jumped into his beanbag, the beads rattling as he curled into a ball. I needed a glass of water this time, but a weird dread made me want to wait until dawn. Pulling the sheets over my head, I fell back asleep. Last night was the final straw, but I'm still not entirely sure whether it even happened. I awoke in the darkness, and my bedroom door was closed, that I usually leave slightly open. Shifting up, I realized my body was paralyzed, and so I lay blind and confused. A heavy weight sat on the top of my chest. I could feel the bottom outline of 2 doggy paws, and slow breathing warmly puffing onto my neck. I closed my eyes, and my hands began shaking on their own accord. The mattress I lay on, more of an uncomfortable prison than a resting place. Why couldn't I move? Jagged tips of teeth brushed lightly against my throat skin. Something leaned in, growling. When I woke again, I felt paralyzed, but this time from fear. Looking to my left, Zeus lay asleep in his beanbag. Checking my door, it sat exactly as I left it. "Morning, boy," I said to Zeus. His small eyes opened up to me, and he stood, yawning. Hopping onto the bed, Zeus walked over and plonked himself directly on my chest, his doggy mouth almost like a human grin. Number 2. I'm not ever going to use any real names in my stories. Let's pretend my name is Faye. This happened about 5 years ago, when I was still in high school. At the time, I was really close friends with a guy. Let's call him Jason. I had recently told Jason about how a lot of things happened to me that are difficult to explain. We kind of got to talking about my different encounters, and he asked me, seemingly hesitantly, if I've ever seen a demon. I said I didn't think anything quite so sinister has ever crossed my path. Jason then explained to me his mom was worried about something strange happening in their house. She said she has gotten sudden chills, heard some strange noises, and had been feeling quite uneasy in general in the house lately. Now, at this point, I had exactly 0 experience with demons or anything of the sort, so I was not aware of anything to really worry about. So I told Jason I would come over that weekend and see if I felt anything out of the ordinary. A few nights later, my phone lights up at 4 in the morning. It's Jason. He says I need to come over as soon as possible, that something wasn't right. He said that he'd been hearing scratches in the walls and dismissed it as a squirrel or something, until the night when the scratches started knocking. He said he could swear it was like someone knocking rhythmically from inside of the walls. I was at his house by sunrise. I was preparing myself for the worst. When I got to his house, the only thing I knew about demons was what I'd seen in the movies. I was ready for full head spinning and projectile vomiting. When I got there, it was nothing. I felt nothing. Everything seemed completely normal. I went all over the house. I put my ear to the walls. I even checked out the creepy basement. I felt nothing strange or sinister. I didn't want to make Jason feel like an idiot, so I gently assured him whatever was there was gone now, and that he had nothing to be afraid of. Secretly, I thought he had just been over-exaggerating the whole thing. We all left the house for the day. Later that evening, I was back at his house for dinner. His parents went to bed, and we were in his living room downstairs talking about nothing in particular. The conversation eventually shifted naturally over to his mother's suspicions. We were talking about the scratching and knocking in the walls, and we were kind of joking about it. You know that feeling when you're talking about something that you really know you shouldn't be talking about? That conversation just felt off. Suddenly, I felt wrong for talking about it. Just a general feeling of uneasiness all around. I abruptly changed the subject. I eventually headed home around 11 p.m. Jason lives pretty far out of town in a heavily wooded area. I was maybe halfway home and suddenly, inexplicably, horrifyingly, a feeling hit me like a brick wall. This white-hot rage overcame me. It's difficult to describe. It was like I had passed through a fog and I was on the other side. I had come out homicidal. Something was in Jason's house and it had followed me home. I don't believe I was possessed because I remember it all. I was definitely me. I was just this cocktail of aggression. Then, in the middle of the road, I saw what I thought at first was a wolf. Then the closer I got, the more I realized it was an animal I've never seen before. It had all the physical traits of a dog, but it was so much bigger. It had wild black fur and its teeth were bared. It looked simultaneously raged and enormous. It was abnormally low to the ground. That's when I realized it was crouching. It made a dead sprint for my car, and I was too close to slow down in time. I knew the size of this animal would likely total my car. I braced myself for impact. I braced and waited. And then I opened my eyes, and it was gone. So was whatever had followed me home. I've told this story to a few friends of mine, and they all agreed that it sounds like the dog I had seen was a hellhound. And I was looking for whatever had followed me home, and it took it back to wherever it came from. From what I can gather from this situation, my first experience with a dark entity was when a naughty demon followed me home from a friend's house, and its hellhound dad showed up to spank them. Number 3. Around a year and a half ago, my family bought a dog. He's a black Pomeranian called Benji, named after a dog my mom had when she was a kid. We all had to pitch in with buying food, vet bills, etc., but my duty was to walk him. I've always liked going on long walks, and having a dog just gave me more of an excuse to go out. Usually I take him out in early morning or late night before and after work. I like being out at these times because there's rarely anybody else around, so we get the streets and grasslands to ourselves, aside from the odd person now and again. We don't go too far, just a lap around the neighborhood and the marshes before heading back. This has been the routine for about 16 months now, until last night. It was a clear night. Not too cold for early spring, so I took Benji the long way around the block. We walked slow, appreciating the quiet and the empty roads. We just started the long way that leads back to my house. It takes about 10 minutes or so to get from the top to the bottom. When Benji stopped to do what a dog has to do, I waited for him to finish his business and pulled out a dog bag from my pocket. As I stood there, cleaning up his mess, I looked down the road I'd come from and I saw a man at the very end of the path, walking towards me. I thought nothing of it at first, just assumed it was someone coming home from the local pub. It was around 9:15 that night at this point. We carried on walking up the road, and I soon forgot about the man. When we reached the top of the path, however, I heard footsteps behind me, and looked back. The man was much closer now, about 3 house lengths behind. Benji noticed this immediately and started growling. Now granted, Benji isn't the most sociable of dogs. He'll bark at somebody and bite them if they get too near, and gets agitated if another dog comes too close to him. But I've never heard him growl at somebody like he did at that man. It was a deep, vicious growl, like something you'd expect from a much larger dog, not a Pomeranian. A little unnerved by his behavior, I tried to brush it off and gently told him to stop being silly. Usually, the person he barks at makes a lighthearted remark about someone not having a very nice day today, and then carries on their way. But this man didn't. He kept walking towards me, and I pulled Benji away, feeling more concerned by the second. I led him down the short path, opposite of the old folks complex. With my own street right around the corner, he growled the entire time, no matter how much I tried to calm him. As soon as we got to the end of the path, I heard talking from behind me. Benji stopped again and turned to the man, growling even louder. The man was now mere meters away from me. I could see him clearly in the lamplight. He looked around 40 with a thick moss and a green coat with round glasses. He had one of those flat material caps on too, and the shadow from it obscured all of his face except his mouth and the glint of his glasses. He was also carrying an enormous neon orange satchel. My first thought was he was on the phone, or when I saw his arms just hanging limp by his sides, maybe one of those earpieces. I only had a quick look, but I didn't see any wires or earphones. His mouth was moving, muttering. I couldn't understand anything he was saying. Then he laughed. God, that laugh. I've never heard anything like it in my life. Laugh isn't the right word. It was more like a demonic giggle. It's like what you'd hear in a school or a playground. It sounded like a child's giggling, but in a grown man's deep voice. That did it for me. I almost dragged Benji away from the man. I pulled him across the grass, away from the path, and past the old folks' houses, up to my street. By cutting across the grass, I'd reach my road more quickly, but looking back, I saw the man had suddenly started to speed walk to catch up with me. By this time, I was full on panicking. Benji was growling louder than ever, and I could hear my own rapid pulse in my ears. I almost ran off the grass, pausing momentarily to throw the dog bag into the bin. As I deposited it, I heard the man giggling, again louder this time. I risked a look back and saw him, standing still stock underneath the street lamp, looking right at me. Then he wouldn't stop. He just kept laughing and laughing. Benji bolted. He ran off ahead of me, yelping and growling. He kept looking back at the man and at me. Then running forwards up the road, I didn't dare to stop and look back. Instead, I walked as fast as I could, hearing the muttering and giggling behind me the whole time. As I neared my front door, I considered going round the back and rushing through the gate into the garden. I didn't exactly want him to know where I lived. But when I looked back and I got near my front door, he'd gone. He just disappeared. There was nowhere he could have hidden. The houses are terraced and there's no alleyways. It's a one-way street too. There was nowhere he could have gone. But I didn't stick around to find out where he was though. I barged into the house with Benji right behind me, and I locked the door immediately. I've told some friends and family who live in the area, but nobody have seen him before. They just tell me not to go out at night on my own from now on. Not that I needed persuading. It's been over 24 hours since then, and I'm still freaked out. I don't know if he was just some random drunk or something much worse. But I can't get that sound of his laughter out of my head. The giggling like a child trapped in a man's body, just laughing and laughing and laughing. You made it. Hopefully you don't look at man's best friend any differently. If you like these stories, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys stay safe out there. And until next time.